Alright, hello and welcome everyone to what I hope will be the final stream of the creation of isolated lakes, concept by CZoo. So let's get right in it then. Yesterday we spent a lot of time grappling with the problem of getting these lakes to be uniformly distributed so that the fish would not be unfairly biased toward any one player. Eventually we arrived at a tech chariot method through brute force, and it's actually kind of simple. It results in a circular arrangement of these isolated lakes in the type that I am about to show you. So we'll have 6 of these little sections of deep water in the pond. We'll just do a large size here and we'll do isolated lakes. Eight players. And bam, there we go. So the isolated lakes. They are approximately this size on Tiny Map as well. These are a little bit bigger though. Still only have 6 of them. We have sort of a jagged, rough shoreline here, blended with mud. So we did all that jagged shoreline yesterday with the Tech Chariot scripting tools. So players are going to start on the shallows here, on their own little isolated lake. I think we're going to put lots of shorefish actually in this isolated lake. And now that I'm thinking about it, I think I do want to scale the size of this because I think we're going to try to avoid putting fish in places where the villagers can collect them. It's a little extra work, but it'll be worth it. We don't want those villagers to get a handful of fish before they go to build the town center. I don't know that most players would do that, but still. We also, in general, have to put the fish in everywhere across the map. We have these mangrove shallows here to block the construction of town centers. And I think that that will be fine. There may still be some places where town centers can be built. We don't want players building their town center in the center of the map. Yeah, they can still build it there. So we might decrease the number of forests, but then we'll put more like golds and stones here. Players can still squeeze a town center in under the forest. So not exactly what we're going for. And I'm also thinking we can upgrade this to reeds, actually. I don't think I want mangrove trees. I think I would just want reeds. But we can give the reeds a lot of wood. Just because it seems like mangrove trees doesn't really fit well with the theme of this map. Map theme is a little bit more temperate. And mangroves just make me think of tropical or desert areas, which this is not. Okay, so let's get on this. So the player lakes, this DLC new shallow, space and other terrain types 4. So we need to scale that according to map size. So we'll just repeat this command. Where is my... Do I have anything for map size? Yes, I do. So I've already got it broken down and set up here. So we'll paste that up here. Got a little bit of a stuffy nose this morning, but it'll be all right. Technically, we could put this conditional inside of the create terrain command. You know what? What the heck? Let's do it. technically it's the right thing to do. Okay. Something like this. Okay. So we already we designed this around tiny map size. So let us try the other sizes now. Start out with small. All right. What? Oh, too many player lands, perhaps? This should still tell us what we need to know. But if we're going to go out to small, we need 2 players. All right, there we go. Except we got a weird water visual bug. Okay. So this is better. So you can see the slight line here where it's transitioning. So we will increase that from 4 to, let's say, 6. I think that's reasonable. Okay, let's go up to the next size. I don't want to cut it too close because I want this to work in as many different combinations as possible. So medium size, 4 players. Spacing of 4. And we'll give it 6. You know what, let's give this 5. 4, 5, and 6. I have a feeling it's going to be kind of a linear pattern sort of thing. Yeah, that's fine. Next size, normal. 6 players. Let's try 7. Yep, looks good. Next size, we'll try 8. So 8 players on a large map size. Did we not save this? No, we did not. All right, looks good. And giant will do 9. And restart the game. Be right back. Well, that's reloading. Okay. Let's hope there's not something inherently broken about what we did, such that this happens again when I try to generate it under the same settings. I don't think that will be the case. Giant isolated lakes. Number of players, 8. Yeah, that looks fine. So I'm trying to think of a situation where somebody could break. What if they tried 2 players on a giant map size? Still works. What if we tried 8 players on a tiny map size? Okay, still works. So it seems like the different extremes work, which is good. This could actually be really fun and interesting to play like this. The forests are essentially all in the corners because there's not a lot of forest on these reeds. I think we should try to upgrade these forests now so that we have reeds growing on the mangrove trees. And I think I had some sample code to do that in another project that I was working on, but of course never finished. I've got so many things. Let's see here. Okay, I think this is what I want here. OFT and DT. Let's copy this and come up to the player setup section. And we're gonna do like we're gonna call it upgrading mangrove tree to reeds, because I don't think there's a reed terrain that is on mangrove shallows. I think there's reeds that's on beach, but there are no reeds that are on there are no reeds that are on mangrove shallows. So we're going to do that. Let me look up these constants just to make sure they are what I think they are. I want to view the files later. Definitive attribute constants. Where's the list of constants? Definitive constants list. Here we go. It's an ODS file. That's what I want. Okay, good. So let's look up 411. Not this, but this. So it's a forestry oak. Okay, I think this is what we're changing from. And DT is 407, which is the dead tree. So we basically kind of made a forest out of dead trees. We want to do this, but for reeds replacing mangroves. So OFT, the first one is what is being replaced, and the second one is what is replacing it. So we want MT there and MT here. And this is going to be the mangrove tree, whatever the constant is for that. So DLC mangrove tree. So that is 1144. So let's just show you what it does with dead trees. Like if we wanted to put dead trees on the mangrove shallows in the center, we would just leave it like this. Let's go to 2 players again. So there you go. A bunch of dead trees. Which actually looks kind of interesting, to be honest. I kind of like it, actually. I kind of like it more than I thought I would. But the thing is that I don't think there's any way of putting more than one type of tree down. There might be a forest that has tree objects that are of varying types. But you just got these weird spiky looking trees that are just seemingly coming up out of the water. So reed is 1250, I believe. RD, we'll call it reed, 1250. Did we not save that? Unless 1250 is the wrong thing. 1250 is the wrong thing. So now we kind of have a dead looking forest. that this lake is covering, which actually is kind of cool, if I have to be perfectly honest. And we could even mask leaves over the mangrove shallows just to make it look even more convincing. It looks like we've got one instance of terrain mask here. So we'll have to go hunt that down. The thing that I do like about these dead trees, though, is that it makes it, you can more easily see through because they're not cluttered with all the leaves. So it gives you the impression of a real flooded area. It almost looks icy and cold, though. We need something to warm it up. So 1250, I guess, is a dead forest type terrain. Yeah, DLC dead tree. So let's look up maybe just reed. Reed is 1350. Okay. And put the proper reed there. So now we've got reeds. And perhaps this looks a little bit more reasonable. And when these are chopped through, they'll just have that buildable mangrove shallow. It's certainly kind of easier to see the lakes, in my opinion, in this way. Or I mean the little deep sections, if you will, of the pond. But I would love for there to be a way to have multiple forest terrains that all have that mangrove shallow bottom. Now it looks like, again, we've got some masking at work here. We're masking maybe that shallow. We could probably get rid of that. Where is it? So it's in the central lake somewhere. It's got terrain mask 1 attached to it. Create terrain, DLC mangrove shallow. No. It's bizarre. Unless it's somewhere else and it's not supposed to be. It might actually be here. And it's just getting on this when it masks the water over that. Because we have shallows in both places. So if we kept this seed, we may have no choice but to accept that. Actually, though, oh, you know what it is? We need to perform this mask of the mangrove shallow more exhaustively first. I bet that's the issue. So we need to repeat this a couple times to make sure that it happens everywhere, so that it's masked with the mangrove shallow properly. Save that. And then it won't have the opportunity to do this alternate masking. There we go. So we could give these reeds a ton of wood, but then I think that that would interfere with these other reeds out here. That's the problem. As much as I would love to give these reeds a lot of wood. So, I think what we're going to do is we are going to use the dead trees. And then we'll put reed objects around them. And I think that's going to be the best that we can do. This is supposed to be a pretty dense area anyway. So we'll decrease the amount of trees slightly. But we'll put more gold and more reeds and other resources here into this flooded area. And I think that'll look good. So let's mask some leaves over these mangrove shallows then. Nope, not that. So we're creating the mangrove forest here. Okay, another terrain mask. So all the terrain masking is right here. So let us create terrain leaves over DLC mangrove shallow. And we're going to do terrain mask 1. See how it looks. Ooh. And I think we want to do that over DLC mangrove forest as well. Or rather, particularly. Too sad, it didn't work. Sometimes you can mask these forests with, like, snow. Well, actually, no, that's nothing. So what if we did try snow, for example? Is snow an example of a terrain that would work? Yes. Snow works, but nothing else does. I don't think. At least the leaves don't. Leaves. Too bad. So then in that case, I have no idea what Sizu is going to think of this. Maybe he will hate it. Who knows? Hopefully he likes it. So mangrove shallow. And we're going to start off with 100% land, but we're going to dial this back so that it looks a little bit more natural, because right now it looks like the leaves are just avoiding the trees, which doesn't quite sit right with me. So let's do land percent 10. Still lots of groups. Yeah, land percent 10 is still more than enough. What about land percent 1? Land percent 1 is not enough. So somewhere in between. Yeah, 4 looks good. Maybe a little higher than 4. Like maybe 6. Yeah, I think 6 is good. 5 or 6. Let's go 5. And then be satisfied with it. Perfect. So just, it gives that rooty look a little bit more strength. And now we should actually see how the mangrove forest affects that. We want 1%. We don't want 2%. 2% is too much. And then we'll do space in other terrain types. We'll increase that to 2. So that it's more densely packed in the areas that it can spawn. Yeah, that's better. And then we'll put reed objects down. It would be wonderful to be able to make those reeds unlameable. You know, we could put traditional reeds down just in, like, on beach terrain. You could try it. It's worth a try. It's worth a try. It's going to mess up our terrains a bit, but nobody's going to be building out here, except, and if they are, they're going to be building, like, lumber camps and mining camps and stuff. So, we could try that. Because I want to give the feel of, like, a flooded beaver dam here. Like a beaver somehow made this. Don't ask me how, because there's no river. How does a beaver make a beaver pond without a river? Sort of a weird situation. But I'm having fun. Okay. So after the mangrove forest is created, let's see if this has... DLC Reeds Beach is what it's called. So the reeds are placed on DLC Wet Beach. And let's just make sure there's nothing else placed on Mangrove Shallows. So is it DLC Mangrove Forest. DLC Mangrove Shallow. Yeah. So Forest Reeds and then Beach Reeds. So DLC Reeds Beach is really what we want. So we're going to do DLC Reeds Beach. Land percent 1. Space and other terrain types of 1 instead of 2. And we're replacing DLC Mangrove Shallow. And let's see what that gives us. But it should... Oh yeah, look at that. I like that. It's kind of a long-range fishing expedition. And I don't think anybody can build their town center in the middle of the map, which is good. Nah. You can sort of see the beach terrain that's going down underneath these reeds as this lake is slowly filling in. We could even put down some grasses to add to the immersion, which I think we probably will. All right, let's see how it looks on giant size with 8 players. Okay. Got similar rows of reeds. Now, the only thing that I don't like about these reed beaches, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, which could be a deal breaker, is you can dock them. You can dock them, and you can get your dock closer to the fish. Is that a good thing? Well, you know, I guess we're going to have building blockers down around this section of beach right here, to where you can't. So you really could only build it like here. So that would not be too bad. It's something to consider here. Let's get the objects set up now, and we'll test it. And we'll mull over the advantages and disadvantages of having these wet beaches here for the reeds. Because they're basically coming in and sort of filling in the gaps of wherever a player could have built a town center. They can't build it anymore because these reeds are in the way. And it makes it look nicer. Oh, there's a spot for a town center right there. But it's high risk. You got to walk a long ways, and you don't even know if you're going to find a place. So I don't think people will build their town centers in the middle. There are a few small places on occasion. All right, I'll be right back, and then we'll do the fish objects. Okay. Hey, the Cookie Pirate is here. Welcome. We are just scripting. We're doing this like flooded area, if you will. And that is the Central Lake. Maybe we could say that it's fed by an underground spring of all the surrounding lakes. But we'd have to put the surrounding lakes at a higher elevation, which we could do. That could actually be really interesting. Put them at elevation 1. I know. I keep saying I'm going to do the fish, but I'm curious about this now. It is kind of like a marsh, yeah. At least it looks that way. Maybe even a bog or bayou. Yeah, you got these dead trees that are on mangrove shallows. Oh. We want to do 2 players if we're going to do a tiny map size. Doesn't quite look right, though. So we won't mess with it. We won't mess with it for now. But that could be a neat thing to adjust later. They could be living. Well, we're about to put some living animals in here, some fish. So we're going to go over to our spreadsheet. Now, we can't just... We're just going to delete this. Well, we can maybe work with it. So we'll cut that, and we'll paste it here. And we need to give ourselves DLC water 5. Row number A5. This should have updated. A6, and this is A6 and A7. All right. Okay. So on this water 5, we're going to place a placeholder. We're going to give it like, we're going to call it flag A. Oops. And we need to do this because we now have, even though it's not really visible when you look at the map, if you look at the mini map, you can see that there's a beach terrain over each one of these ponds. And that's because they were created as lands, which means that when we did the terrain layering, there was no way that we could have removed the beach. So we're going to create little placeholders over each of these ponds, and we're going to tell our gravel beach placeholders to avoid them and be over here instead. So these ponds, they are going to have neutral unconvertible flags. They're going to have as more than could ever fill the map. And the grouping type is going to be loose. And they're going to be placed on DLC Water 5, and their temp min distance group placement is going to be 1. And they're not going to avoid anything. They're just going to go anywhere that DLC Water 5 exists, and they're all going to be spaced 1 apart. And then we'll tell this to avoid those flags. So we'll tell these other placeholders to avoid those flags. Okay. So we're going to avoid whatever's in row 1 by 4. Yeah, that's reasonable. All right. So let's flag B and flag C, and we'll deactivate this for now. So we'll put down flag A's in these ponds. So these ponds will have some scattered flag A, and then we'll put down flag B on this DLC gravel beach around here. And then we're going to put a flag C on DLC New Shallow that's a certain distance away from this gravel beach. And then we'll have a flag here. And then finally we'll put the fish down. Now, unfortunately, this means we're also going to be putting down some flags on this, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. We could actually use those flags to place other fish. Why can the beaches not go away? Because when we layer the terrains, we have a spacing to other terrain types of 1, and that means that it's what allows this layering to exist, this beach layering to exist, but it also means that this gets left over. Because we put down water, and everything surrounding this was beach. So when we replace the beach with shallows, and we leave space in other terrain types 1, it means that there's going to be a thin layer of beach here because it's spaced 1 tile away from DLC Water 5, which we're putting directly right here. We have to have that space in other terrain types 1 because if we don't, then this beach over here won't get left behind. And then it'll put its own default white sandy beach in, which is not what we want. Okay. So let's make sure that these placeholders are occurring when they're supposed to occur. And so we'll run this, and if they are, then we'll add the fish. And we'll add both types of fish. We'll add the deep fish, and I think we'll be able to add the shallow fish too. So the immediate land has to be beach if it's right next to water. Exactly. There must always be a beach tile. You can't have regular land adjacent to water. You have to have a beach of some kind. Okay. So here's our flag A placeholder. And it's being placed in the deep water correctly. And then here are the other flag C's that are being placed around it. Now, these flag C's are not ending up on this border because they are avoiding this flag B by a certain amount. So this flag B is applied to all gravel beach terrain that is not within 4 or whatever it is of these deeper sections. So that's why you have these flags appearing here and not down here, is because these flags are avoiding flag A by a certain distance. Then flag C avoids these flags, which is what puts it over here instead of in this shallow area along the edge. Now, this is resulting in flags in the center of this too, but that's okay. We will actually just use these to put down fish. So first things first then, we'll come back to our spreadsheet and we will replace this first object with just the invisible on-grid placeholder. And then we will activate our traditional fish, and then we're going to activate our shore fish too. Or not activate, but we're going to create them. So this is going to be number 5 on grid. The second object is going to be shore fish instead. And we're going to put more of this shore fish than could ever possibly be placed on the map. We will have no resource delta for this shore fish. And we will put it on regular water. The temp min distance group placement of 2. And we will have this shore fish avoid whatever's in 2 by 4, because it's spaced 3 apart, so that should work. And we'll have it avoid whatever's in 3 by 1. Okay, all of that is legal. And then, yeah. Okay, so let's give that a try. Let's run it. Oops. We're going to copy our function to run, paste it. You know, JC, I think you would really enjoy random map scripting in Age of Empires. I think you could have some pretty creative things. Okay, so because we did this a little bit differently, as you can see, we still have the fish spawn, but the fish should have a couple things. It should have more avoidance to itself, so that you don't have 4 of these placed in this lake. And villagers can also stand on this beach terrain and collect the fish, which is not good. We don't want villagers, we don't want players to be able to mill this fish in the center. Well, we make it look hard, but part of it is kind of making it harder because we want to. Okay, so a villager could totally stand here and collect the fish, which is not what we want. Let's see how it did with the shorefish. Alright, it actually did not produce that many shorefish. So, okay. And its problem is that it's avoiding this this gravel beach. So, let's do a couple of things. Let's not worry about the shorefish for now. Let's get rid of that. And we need to increase the avoidance to whatever's in 3 flag C. So let's increase that to 2. And let's have a temp min distance group placement of 8 for these big fish piles. So save that, paste it, run. Okay. So that looks a lot better. The villagers should not be able to reach this fish anymore. We weren't able to solve any problems regarding this, but that's okay. We're not there yet. So we got big fish piles. We could actually even increase this avoidance more if we wanted to. So we don't have to have a fish in each one of these little pools. Although we could. We could have one in every other pool, for example. So let's put down our villager. So I don't believe that our villager is capable of reaching these fish. But let's just test it and make sure. Okay. Go get it. Alright, they can't reach. They can't reach. They can't reach. And they can't reach. Okay, so good. So 2 is the right number, and it makes sense because 1 was the right number before. What about 2 in every pool? Perhaps. We're going to give this fish so much resource delta that it's not even going to be funny. So we'll leave that alone for now. What do I want? Isolated lakes. So now we need to do the shorefish. Out here. And I think what we need to do is we actually need to create ourselves another invisible placeholder out here so that these flags are not even, like, they're not even part of the equation. These don't appear at all. So let us just got into warships. The camouflage and economic changes are really nice. Drastically simplified, and you can make your ship look pretty for credits instead of ridiculously rare camos. Alright, that's good to know. Alright, so let us insert a row above this one. Delete that. And we'll go 2, 3, etc. So we created these placeholders for DLC Water 5. And let us create ourselves another one for just water. And we'll put more of them than could ever possibly fit. You know the deal. Except we'll have these, we'll give these like a spacing of 3 or something. And then we'll tell all this other stuff, all these other flag B's and C's, to avoid that water by 4. Or even more than that. Maybe we'll give them a spacing of 4, and then we'll tell these to avoid 1, and then avoid 6. Alright, well, if I make this 3, then I can keep that at 4. Okay, so this flag C, we will have that avoid whatever's here as well. F4, come on. Okay. So it'll avoid these flags by 4 in both cases. So remember that we had these flags appearing out here, and ultimately I don't want these flags out here. So we're going to put flags on this water type of terrain specifically, and then we're going to tell these flags, in addition to their normal avoidances of like avoid the pools and stuff, also avoid this water. So we should, assuming that we did everything correctly, which I think we did, be able to control the spawn of that shorefish a little bit better. Okay, looks like it's writing to file. Let's run it again. Okay, good. So now we'll generate it. And we should see that these flags do not show up here, but that we have another type of flag that does. So as you can see, we have these flags that are just on water appearing, and it is blocking the creation of all of the other flags. And it looks like we still somehow have shorefish in our script. What? Oh, alright. Well, we reinitialized the shorefish. Oh well. Hey, Smokey, how's it going? We're making some good progress on isolated lakes. Okay, we need to... this is fine. This is honestly fine. So now we are going to replace these placeholders with something invisible. So we're kind of moving on to the next chapter now. So we don't care about the visibility of these. Let's go to like 2 players on a giant size to see how bad it could be. It looks like here there's a little bit of extra placeholder appearance. This one has a lot. But this is as bad as it can be, and this really is not that much. These deep fish should not be here, though. It's but annoying that they are appearing, actually. Maybe these flag bees are not tightly packed enough, so let's keep the seed. And we'll see if we can fix this issue. So we'll bump this down to 2. These are avoiding 1 and 2 now. We could actually decrease this to an avoidance of 3. We'll save it, and we'll update it. See how we do. And try to get these flags a little bit more densely packed. Still got some deep fish showing up. We could perhaps give the deep fish a forest avoidance. That could be helpful to make them avoid these reeds. These reeds really should not be forming a continuous circle around that anyway. Players can't get through. Unless maybe that's a good feature, who knows. But part of me also feels like maybe this is well, actually, what is this? This must be DLC Water 5. It has to be because the fish can't spawn on anything else. The question is, why is this DLC Water 5 and not DLC New Shallow? Is there something in the terrains that's failing to put down DLC New Shallow here? Why are there deep fish at all? Well, there are deep fish here in the deeper sections of the lake. But I don't know why it's spawning out here. We're keeping with this seed. Let's go back and take a look at the terrains. It's the central lake layering. We're creating terrain DLC Water 5. Spacing other terrain types of 1. And it's being created from this gravel beach. What happens if we change the space and other terrain types too? It probably messes with our ponds here, our little mini ponds, if you will. It looks like it might actually expand them. Interesting. I think that was done to kind of clean up the existence of other stuff. Let me go back down to 1 and we'll try duplicating and making more of these. Actually, they really look to be the same size, don't they? What happens if we double the number of these? Still there. All right, let's take a look at it on Tiny. Same seed. We'll cut this in half. And then we'll make this 2 and we'll see what happens on Tiny. So on Tiny, it's possible that somebody could get here with a villager, so 1 is really the best number. So villager can approach the deep fish and then fish from it. So villagers can fish from the deep fish when they're like that. So 1 is indeed the right number here. Okay. So better. However, if we go 2 players on a giant size, or it could honestly even be probably more players than that. We have some situations where this deep fish, maybe we just need to tell this deep fish to avoid these flag bees by a greater distance. Let's take a look at what we've got on Tiny here. Yeah, we've probably got some margin to tell the deep fish to avoid the flag bees. So I think that's what we do. Even though the terrain there looks to be wrong, let's try to use objects to solve the problem. So the deep fish are avoiding whatever's in 3 by 4. So let's have them avoid it by, let's say, 8 instead. And we'll bump this back to 3, and we'll bump this back to 4. We'll save it, run it, see what happens. Let's deactivate the shorefish for now. Okay, it's all done. So now when we keep this seed, we generate it on a giant size map, we should not get the fish to spawn here. even though there are some small pools that are available for it. Oh, you know what? I think I know what's going on. Before that, when the gravel beach is converted into shallow, these spots are missed, but they're picked up when water 5 is converted. So I'll bet, yep, that we need to have more of these too. So we'll have six of each. So now this should be properly converted to shallows. I knew there was a better solution. Okay, good. So that is shallows as it should be, which means at least it'll look better. I don't think it hurts anything for the deep fish to have such a large avoidance, though. So let us take a look at the tiny map size. 2 players, and yeah, they still spawn. They still spawn fine, so we're going to leave it alone. Okay, good. Very, very good. So now, okay, so we've got these flags on water. We want what we're placing on DLC New Shallow to do a really good job of avoiding what's placed on the water here. And it looks like we have it avoiding by 4, but that's clearly not enough. We can't change its avoidance to flag B, because that could screw with things. So we will break this up into a different avoidance for whatever's in 2, and we'll have it avoid by, let's say, 12. So it will add another actor area that we're going to have to deal with, but that's fine. That's why I made this program. So right now, on giant size, we're going to get all kinds of extra flags here that we don't want. So we're going to tell these flags to avoid these flags by 12 instead of 4. So we'll keeping with this seed. Generate that. Okay. Bam. It's all gone. But these are still far enough away that they're not affected. So, good. Now we can put what we want in here. We can start working on the shorefish. So we can replace these flag C's and flag B's with the invisible placeholders that we all know and love. And then we can focus on these smaller lakes. Okay. So what do we need here? Well, we need placeholders that are distributed on DLC New Shallow. And let's say that we want them to have a certain distance to the forest. Maybe like 4 or something, so that we don't place them down here, but rather over here. So let's place ourselves a placeholder on this DLC New Shallow. Maybe space it by 1 or even 2. I think 1 is the right number though. Insert rows above. So flag B. Okay, more than we'll ever need. DLC New Shallow. And this is going to avoid the flag A's. And it's going to avoid them. Oh, spacing is going to be 1. And so therefore it has to avoid them by 2. But we're going to need more than that. We also want to put something on this gravel beach that avoids these guys. So let's do that as well. Oops. Insert rows above. Flag C. Convert a bunch of this stuff. So DLC Gravel Beach. And we need to have it avoid this gravel beach by at least 4. So it's going to avoid whatever's in 7. This third row here. And we need to have it avoid by 4. Because what's in 7 is spaced by 3. But these in and of themselves can be distanced 1 apart. I think that's the right number. Okay. Alright, so we have these. Oh, we never gave them the forest avoidance, of course. So we need to give these flags C's forest avoidance. So we'll give them forest distance of like 4 or something to make sure that these flag C's don't show up here. And then to prevent the flag, actually these are the flag B's from showing up here. Okay, and these flag C's are in the right location. Okay, good. So let's run that again. So we're still getting... We need to take another dive at this. Oh, shoot. We gave the wrong one forest avoidance. We give that one forest avoidance. And we need to have this avoid this deep stuff as well. So it looks like it's trying to go over there. Okay. So this forest avoidance isn't quite large enough. We could always just make it avoid these other actor areas. I guess we have more budget for forest avoidance. So we'll increase the forest avoidance to 6. I like forest avoidance because it's simple. The code is very simple. It doesn't have to think very hard. It just does its thing. Okay, there we go. And yes, we got one rogue flag there, but I don't really care about that. It's not excessive. And now let's do like the giant size. A couple more flags, but again, doesn't really bother me too much. More flags in the middle. It could be cool though to do like little islands if the map is, if it's big enough, but we really should look at the appropriate number of players because it's not going to look like that. Yeah, it's not gonna have that. We almost didn't get the small flags. We did not get the small flags in this case. Uh-oh. That's not good. So I think we need to modify the terrain section. And we need to bump this down to 8. Get them a little bit larger. There we go. Okay. And now let's put down the shorefish. So the shorefish will exist in these small, isolated lakes. And there will be a lot of it. But we'll have the shorefish avoid these flags, the flag C, and we'll have it avoid flag B as well, so that you have lots of shorefish, but you can't take it with villagers. You must take it with fishing ships. So you have the choice of Do I want to invest in fishing on my own lake and take the shore fish, or do I want to go for the deep fish in the middle? And there won't be very much shore fish, I don't think, relative to the deep fish. But fishing will definitely be a factor on these isolated lakes because they're lakes and they need to be fished. Okay. So let's reactivate the shore fish now. And we're going to place them on water. They're going to have a temp-min distance group placement of 2, which seems reasonable to me. And we are going to have them avoid whatever is in A10 and whatever is in A11. And we'll have them avoid that by 2 each. Well, we want them to avoid the flag Bs by more. So I'll have them avoid the flag Bs by 4, and yeah, maybe this one by what? We'll try what we have here. Okay. We'll see how it looks. I don't want players to be able to pick up fish with their villagers before getting on the transport ship. Okay, that's reasonable. These can still be collected though, so we're going to have to increase that avoidance to 2. I guess it's alright if it's like just a couple places. You can still dock. But note that that could be another advantage to moving it further away. So this is fine. Yeah, it's alright to do a little bit of fish, I think, with villagers. We'll call this good. And maybe we'll do a resource delta of minus 100, so there's not too much fish in your own isolated pond. And now that the fish are taken care of, we can make these placeholders invisible. Again, these aren't really affecting anything out here, but just like to have as few of them as possible. So we'll do on grid, and a resource delta for these fish of minus 100. And the deep fish, we're going to give a resource delta of plus 1,000. Exactly. And it could be anywhere from 1,000 to 4,000. So it could be a lot of food. You just don't know. We'll run it. Inspect it. And then I want this dead forest tree to have a lot of wood in it too. You know, this would be really fun for King of the Hill, you guys. This could be a lot of fun. I don't know that anybody would ever take the fish in the center. But it could be a lot of fun. Oh, we also need to actually make it so that these placeholders are building blockers. So let's see what we used on Oriskany. For those building blockers. So it's just blocker. So it's in the text of Oriskany. It's 1776. So we need to, this one that's going on DLC Gravel Beach. Nope, not that one. DLC Water 5. Ah, okay. This needs to go, I think, on DLC Gravel Beach. And then we need to cut that avoidance down to 3. So if we looked at this now, we would be getting rid of the flags over here, most of them. We didn't get rid of flag A. Oops. Let's do that. And let's come back over here to DLC New Shallow, and we'll flag A that. And let's make sure this is the placeholder that we want to target and modify. We were just here, so it should be relatively fresh in the mind. Yes, so we want this to be on DLC Gravel Beach. But we don't want it to be on this DLC Gravel Beach, but that shouldn't be an issue. So we are going to come over here, and we're going to change this to DLC Gravel Beach. We should have the proper avoidances baked into it. Let's see. It's avoiding whatever's in 2 by 12, so which is the water. So it's not going to go anywhere near that. That's good. And it's avoiding whatever's in 3 by 4. Yeah. So that should work. Now the fish avoidance might be too large, but we'll see. So we've just changed the terrain for it. So it'll be essentially shrinking the size of that circle. Okay, there we go. So as you can see, sometimes the fish doesn't spawn properly. At least it failed to spawn on this lake. Shoot, I need to go back to random map. Because the avoidance is too stringent. So the good news is we have some margin to open that up. We can also make this fish, yeah, it could be tricky. We don't really care where the fish is in here as long as it floats around a little bit. So let's decrease that avoidance. So we're avoiding whatever's in 3 by 4. But what's in 3 is spaced by 2. So we need to space that by 3. So we need to space it by 2. And then we'll decrease this avoidance to 3. Okay. No. The fish still fails to spawn. What? Did we not save it properly? Oh, whoops, we did the wrong thing. We need to control the avoidance of the fish. So the fish is avoiding whatever's in 4 by 2. We need to tell it to avoid whatever's in 4 by 1. There we go. So it's actually even simpler. Sorry, complicated program. It's easy to make a mistake. But, I mean, imagine doing this on another map. The guys would be fighting with it for days. Okay, good. Now, we can change it to, what was it, a patriotic 1776? Yep. And we're not going to kill the blocker because we want the blocker to stay alive all the time. So we're going to come up here and we're going to first object this as blocker 1776. Okay. Before we run that, let's make sure that we have convertibility selected appropriately. We haven't even specified a type for this. So this is going to be neutral Gaia. These are all going to be neutral Gaia convertible. I don't know if you can convert the blocker, but we'll have to test it. I don't think you can, actually. All right, let's go. So I set anything to convertible that I know can't be converted, because if I click unconvertible, it'll add an extra line of code saying make this unconvertible. But if it's already unconvertible, it's just needless code. All right. Let's actually look up our information on 1776. Just says blocker, generic. Okay. There we go. So the flags are invisible. Building. Let's see what we can do for docks. So you cannot build a dock there. Can't build a dock anywhere in here. That's nice. Can't build a dock on Mangrove Shallows. You could build a dock here, for example. And you could build a dock here. You wouldn't be able to make many fishing ships. But we could make it so that these ponds just have so much food, and the rest of the map has so little food that you can't ignore them. Now let's have a little bit of an experiment here. Let's say that somebody chopped down all of these reeds and that, because they had a lumber camp here. Could you dock this? Yes. And that would be a much more efficient dock. So maybe the strategy is to send some villagers forward and build a lumber camp and chop some wood over here so that you can build a dock, and then you can take the fish more efficiently. That's fun. I like that. That's a lot of fun. You know, we might be able to have more fish. Like each one of these ponds has 2 fish or something. But I don't know. I don't know. I kind of like it the way that it is. Okay, I'm going to step away. I'll be right back, guys. I need to refill my water. And we'll continue with the objects when I return. I'm very pleased with how the map is turning out so far. Done some good work here. Yeah, there might be the occasional shorefish that could be, you know, taken by a villager. But there's still, most of the fish is accessible only with fishing ships. So that's fun. You know, it's just a fun map. So we'll start putting all the resources down. I think we have a good number of trees here. I think we're pretty much set with the terrains. We got the proper masking and layering in place, so it's basically just going to be resources at this point. We might put some tree objects down like bushes, maybe a few reeds, but I think we're good on reeds. All right, I'll be right back, guys. I'm very happy with where we're at with this so far. All right, be right back. Alright guys, I'm back. Thanks for hanging out. Let's see if we can still dock this. Oh yeah. Should be alright. Alright. Let's do the neutral resources. So we don't want wolves. We can leave out the rocks for now. What are we going to do about relics? Just leave the relics distributed somewhere? Should the relics all be on the mangrove shallows? Or should they be everywhere but the mangrove shallows? I'm almost thinking we should just have standard relics distributed across the grass. So I think that's what we're going to do. Okay. We will get rid of the wolves. Actually, could we put the wolves in a location? Nah. Nah. I don't think so. I don't think there's really anywhere that we can put wolves. I don't want wolves. I don't want. I want people to be able to come out here with their villagers. It's already going to be risky enough. All right. We'll just get rid of that. So relic, forage bushes, stones, and golds. And it looks like we already have a lot of stuff done with the relics so far. This is telling it to avoid player areas. Oh, okay, I see. By 24. I guess that could be good. We just gave players an invisible placeholder. Insert rows above. 2, 3, 4, etc. Okay, and these update automatically. Hey, alright, see you later, Cookie Pirate. Hopefully you had fun playing Warships. And tuning into the stream. So we'll have avoid 2 and 5. I don't understand the whole 5 thing. You're going in an hour earlier. Does that mean you get to leave an hour earlier? We're going to do off-grid 647. We'll actually just copy the formatting for a lot of this. And hanging out here. All right. Have fun. We'll see you later. Hopefully we will have finished Isolated Lakes by then. I got to check with BP to see when he's going to be around. Okay. So we will put a player-controlled object as the very, very first thing here. And we're not going to place it on any type of terrain. It's just going to be It's just going to be an off-grid placeholder. Player assigned and player owned. And it's just going to be find closest. And we put right at the center of player lands here. And it doesn't have to be off. Well, we'll give it a second object of town center here, just to make sure that it's happening. We will deinitialize that. And let's just make sure that this spawns properly. And then we're never going to look at it again. It's just going to be there for neutral objects to avoid. Looks like it wrote successfully. So it'll have a player town center just show up in the middle of these shallows. It should anyway, if the game doesn't crash. Uh-oh. It's frozen. It's not a good sign. Okay, let's get that game going, because I wanna finish this. And I know we can. Okay, if it crashes again, we'll know that we're doing something illegal. So tiny, isolated lakes. Players should be 2. Oops, that's the wrong file. So it looks like off-grid is not defined. Oh, no, it is. Okay. Oh, the number of groups is 9320. Dang. No wonder it's not going to work. Probably crashed again. I know I would have. We've done that before, too. Let's get rid of that. Relaunch the game. $9,320 town centers is too much. It's way too much. Especially if it's all in the same place. I don't blame it for not working. So we'll fix that. And we fix this. Okay. Now remember that this is still going to be a nomad map. We're just looking. Make sure that it is created properly. Isolated lakes. All right, bingo. There it is. So we can actually leave this in until the last minute for debug purposes. And then remove it. I don't think we're going to... Actually, we could. We could just put the villagers and the transport ship in there, honestly. So have like one transport ship be spawned essentially, and the villagers are spawned right next to him. Somewhere on this DLC New Shallow terrain within a certain distance of him. I think that's reasonable, actually. So let's work on that. So I think we can just put transport ship. And we don't need any of this. And then we'll insert rows above. Delete all this. Copy all this. And then we will click and drag that down here. This should have all automatically updated. We're going to do villager base F. Player assigned, player owned. And we're going to have 3 groups of these. Terrain to place on. DLC New Shallow. There's not going to be any spacing between the groups or anything like that. We don't need that. We are, however, going to specify that these villagers be within a certain distance of A5. It's our only condition. We need to actually put that over here in this other column. So it has to be placed within, and we're gonna place within 4 of this transport ship. Now, if things fail to show up, then we'll assume that it's because things cannot be placed on this terrain. So then we'll start whipping out our second object powers. This should all otherwise be, yeah, that's all fine. And we're going to have this unconditional nomad start regardless. Okay. Because this is a nomad map. Okay, there we go. So you start with your villagers and the transport ship. We might even be able to do something cheeky, like upgrade the transport ship from a unit that has no population space, so the transport doesn't take up any population. We could alternatively start the players with maybe a house, if we wanted to. We could even, maybe even give them a yurt up here. Put the yurt on a second object. I kind of like that. Give the players a yurt to start out with, and maybe a free llama and a scout. A nomad scout, maybe a horse. I don't know if a horse can enter a transport ship, though. That's the thing. We'd have to test it. But I think it'd be worth looking at. This lady can kind of fish a little bit. I don't think she will. Just don't want the fish being too close to the center here. So that's the first thing I think we need to figure out. So if we're playing as player 1 and we have a unit and we just have like a camel or something. Not looking in the right horse. So we'll give them a horse. Let me test this and see if we can load the horse on the transport ship. Because I actually don't know. Okay, the horse can get on the transport ship, so that's good. So we'll give them a horse and we'll give them a very fat goose. So they'll at least have some guarantee of food. Okay. Man, I wish Sizu were here, but he's busy, and I understand that. I've dragged this on long enough, but then I could ask Sizu what he wants. Okay. So let us insert a row above this one. We'll actually select the whole thing. The transport ship we'll put here. And we'll actually insert rows above this as well. This is going to be DLC Goose. Or we could, actually, you know what, let's give them a cow. We'll give them a really big fat cow. It's going to be a huge cow. And this will be realistic too, because the cow will actually provide a lot more meat than a goose, kind of like real life cows. Doesn't that ever bother you guys? You know how like all the livestock are the same? Okay, so the first object is going to be off-grid 6 off-grid. And we gotta go back in and center all this again. Second object will be yurt. Player assigned, player owned, and it's going to be placed at the center of all player things. So therefore there's no need for actor area control or anything like that. Alright. And, oh, we want to have a scout too. Because this is kind of an unforgiving map, in a way. First object, so we're going to have a horse. And I think it's got to be like horse A or something like that. It can't just be a horse. We could actually make it so that you can eat the horse too. That would be kind of funny. You could use him to scout, or you can use him for eating. Well, we'll deal with that specifically later. I think I'm going to include the cow as well. So let's just look this up real quick and we'll see where the horse designation is. Alright, it's just horse A. So I think that'll work if it's got a letter behind it. So there are different variants of the horses. These are all player assigned and player owned objects. So there's going to be 3 of these villagers, and there's going to be 1 horse and 1 cow. And these are all going to be placed on DLC New Shallow. So hopefully we have enough DLC New Shallow to go around. Transport ship. We're actually going to... We actually don't care what type of terrain we put this transport ship on, but let us place this after the other objects because it is not restricted for terrain type. Okay. And we're going to place all these within 4. We're not going to force a placement for them. They might be a little jumbled around. But that's fine. And they shouldn't interfere with the yurt at all. Okay, let's test this. The cow, we need to give a resource delta of, let's give him a resource delta of 250. So he's got 400 food, a big fat cow. Don't lose your cow. Okay. So writing to file. It's done. So, no yurt. Probably because yurt is not the correct designation. And because there's no yurt, nothing else can spawn. So, not that. So we should indeed be able to get yurt. Why is there no yurt? If we just put in yurt, just like this, it's object 712, it's yurt A. Is it writing successfully? Should be. Come on now, I want a yurt. I want a yurt on these shallows. It would be kind of like a houseboat, if you will. So this player got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And this player got 6. Ooh, that's not good at all. That is a bit unfair. We might have to revisit that. But first I want to figure out why this yurt isn't spawning properly. Oh, we're not defining off-grid. That's why it's not spawning. So let's see, where are the shorefish being created? They're being created here. We got our placeholder here, and another placeholder here. This is avoiding whatever's in 7 by 2. I guess we have to decrease the spacing to 1. We try to make it a little bit more consistent. Actually, that's the responsible way to do it, because this cannot avoid by the spacing by less than whatever this is spaced by. So we have to decrease it to 1. All right. Let's run it. Oh, shoot. What did I just do? No. Ugh. Remove the ability to minimize this. That's annoying. Ah, come on. Me and my clumsy clicking. All right, we have a thing. So we got the horse, we got the cow, we got the yurt, just kind of floating there. It's a houseboat. You know, it'd be cool is if you made it so that when you deleted your dock, it actually became a yurt, a finished yurt. That would be fun. But I don't think we can do that. Nevertheless, it's there, saving people some time and energy. So now we should have a much more reliable spawn of fish in the individual lakes. We might even consider just doing this as a player controlled thing. I'm tempted to just give the players a set amount of fish in each of their lakes, exactly the same amount. Damn it, it's probably the right thing to do now that I'm thinking about it. You could simplify things and delete a lot of useless placeholders. Oh, all right, let's do it. So we do indeed want these shorefish to avoid all of these things as described. But we're going to add something else. And that is that we're going to add that they need to be placed within a certain distance of the yurt. So the yurt is a 5. We're going to place it within, let's say, I don't know, 12. And we're going to have it avoid by 11. So A5. And we will avoid by 11 here. And then we will assign each player 8 of these. And then we will give them a certain temp min distance group placement on the shorefish of 2. That's fine. So we'll save it, run it. And then if it doesn't work properly, we'll start removing dependencies on the stuff that we created first. Okay. What's going on? Probably forgot to adjust what type of thing this is. So this is player assigned Gaia convertible. We don't need to set it to unconvertible because it is fish. Let's try that again. Oh shoot, we're avoiding by 11. There's no valid location for it to spawn within. Yeah, so let's get rid of this DLC new shallow object. We don't need that. And we're still going to have DLC gravel beach. We don't need this, which means that we don't need the middle argument of this either. And we're going to actually change what the middle argument would have been to that. So it's the same. It's really the same amount of fish either way. The question is, do you take a little bit with your villager before you leave? But it must be placed on water. We could even reform that too. It may not matter at this point. But let's run it. I want to look at it, guys. I want to see it. It's been a while since I've seen, in fact, I have not seen it create yet. Okay, there we go. So it's a large window. It's avoiding by 4. We could... All of these are really reachable by villagers, except for these 3. So I think I want to tell it to avoid this gravel beach by a little bit more. There's no scaling for this. Oh, there's no scaling for any of this. We really need to get that figured out. Scale by map size. Most of it should be scaled by map size. It doesn't matter for a lot of it because there's just so much stuff. Okay, and this has no scaling. In addition to all of those, none of those have any scaling. Okay. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this created 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this created 8. So we need to work on that too. Okay. Four, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we will decrease that avoidance by 1. I think we'll be basically good to go. Within 12, avoid by like 2, maybe. We could even increase this to 10 to give ourselves some better chances here. We could do like minus 125. Okay. Okay. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wonder if I can have it avoid the beach by one more. Just for tech greed purposes. So it's avoiding whatever's in 12 by 1. Let's have it avoid that by 2. Because whatever's in 12 is actually spaced by 1. So again, it's not following the rules, which explains why it's inconsistent. Okay, we'll leave that alone for now. I think it does a decent job of forcing. I can't leave it alone. You know me, I cannot leave it alone. Let's increase this to 3. It's not perfect. It's not perfect and it drives me crazy. But it's good enough. All right. What's next? Relics. So we are avoiding, I don't know, oh, so whatever's in 6. That's probably not what we want to do. Avoid whatever's in A5. And A5. And A5. And the first one, again, A5. This is going to be avoidance to player start areas, essentially. Relic, forage bushes, gold, and stone. What else is it avoiding? It's avoiding whatever's in... I think this is just gibberish. Okay, this needs to avoid the relics, though. A $17, maybe. Next one. So the relic avoidance we can have be 32. And these will actually be 24, I think. (24, 8). 24, 8, 8. Again, I don't know what this 4 is. It's probably some other object that's left over. And then we'll change this to 19. And get rid of the 4. So we're kind of setting up these objects now to all avoid each other. Not that many objects. Force distance 3, type min distance, group placement of 24. For the relic, Sizu said something about 10 relics, but I think he was joking. So these relics are spaced 16 apart. And big thing is I think we just want to specify that these are on grass. Let's try specifying no terrain type, though, and see what happens first. All right, it's all done. Writing the file. So we got a pretty large avoidance to player starting areas, but I think the overall spacing of the resources is good. We may want to add in meat too, in the form of herdables that you can capture, and deer and or boar that you can hunt, but not yet. So I think we do want to specify that the relics are on the grass terrain. The relics are pretty far away from the towns. Maybe too much. But I think this amount of food is good. It looks like it's free to put the stone and the gold on the mangrove shallow. So I think we're going to increase the forest avoidance by that a little bit more. Because I do want to put golds and stones down, but I want them to be single tile in the center. Alright, so let's do a few things. This relic avoidance is too large. And oops, the relics need to be on the grass terrain only. Let's bump up this forest avoidance. Should we bump up the forest avoidance, or should we tell the resources to avoid the mangrove shallows by a certain amount? I think of what placeholders I have out here. Not that many. truth is. But if I do too large of a forest avoidance, then it will avoid these forests out here, which I don't want. So I think we are going to have them avoid stuff out here. We'll put a generic mangrove shallow placeholder, and then we'll tell these resources to avoid that. I think it's simply the best way to do it. So another placeholder. Glorious. And another set of avoidances. And while we're at it, we might as well not worry about that, because we'll just tell this relic to avoid that as well. Insert rows above. So we will copy this. We'll paste it here. And we're going to do on grid, it's fine. Neutral Gaia convertible, because it's just a placeholder that's going to die. And we're going to have 9320. And this is not going to have a forest distance. And it's going to have a temp min distance group placement of, let's say, 4. And it's going to have no object avoidances at all. And then we will tell things to avoid both the player's starting position and whatever this number that ends up being. 14 in this case. And we will tell it to avoid that. It's got to be at least 3. We'll tell it to avoid that by 6. So technically if it's going to be 6, we can increase this number, but the forest there is a little bit choppy, so I will just increase this to 4. Wait. Wrong thing. Oh, it's already 4. Okay. Then that will be fine. So okay. Oops. What's going on here? You are supposed to be avoiding... Oh, I see. That's why. None of these have numbers yet, so they're not going to show up. So these are all going to look like it's only avoiding 2 things, but we know that it'll be avoiding more as soon as I drop these numbers down. So this needs to be 2 entries. So the avoidance that we're going to give it is 6, and I don't know where we stored that. Maybe it got Control-Z'd. 24, 6, 8. And then we'll tell it to avoid by 6. Okay. We will click and drag this down now. And we felt that these numbers were a little high, so let's bump this down to 16. And we'll bump the rest of these down to 16 too. Don't need to avoid the player starting areas by that much. Save it. Run it. That's better. Still some forage bushes. It's fine. I like that. It seems like there are a decent number of berries scattered across the map. But the vast majority of food it's going to be fish, I would say. Can I build the town center here? Just curious. Curious, as always. Yes, I can. Well, people won't. I don't think people will try that in general. Stones and golds should still not be here, though. Looks like the relics are doing okay. So we will maybe increase that avoidance from 6 to 8. What else? What else do we want to do? Oh, we need to put down some sheep and some deer. So I guess we'll do that now. We'll have it avoid the center as always. So we're going to use geese. DLC goose. And these are going to be neutral Gaia convertibles. Copy a lot of this. And there might be one goose sprinkled around, so more than could ever fit. Temp distance group placement of 24. I don't think we're going to have really many other avoidances programmed in here, except for the first two. So A5 and A17. Because these are mobile, we don't care if they're too close to a gold or too close to a stone. However, it is one type of food. So we're going to have deer as well. We'll copy all of this. And it's just going to be... Should it still be millable? No, I don't think so. We will have it avoid the sheep. (16.8, 8). And then finally we'll put boar down. Boar is going to have a big resource delta here in the negative. We don't want too much food provided by boars. We'll have to test it to see how the amount of food, how it all shakes out, how it works. (23). (8, 8, 8). Okay, these are all spaced 24 apart, and the resource delta for these boars is going to be minus, see, they're 340 base, so to make them 200, it's minus 140. I think we're going to do like minus 170. So the boars are going to contain half the normal amount of food. Evil. So if boars only had 170 food, would people lure them? I don't think so. Then we're going to do minus 120. So that the boars have 220 food. But let's see how many put down in this way. Maybe it won't look too bad. Yeah, so it's fine if these boars are next to an occasional like patch of berries. Food is just not all collected in one place. So a player might have access to a boar. Or two. But they're thin boars. They're anemic boars. Come on. Gold still spawning on the mangrove shallows here. And what the heck, this relic spawning as well. Should not be. We're going to put our own resource piles down. That are specific to that terrain type. So I have a horse. It'd be kind of funny and interesting to make the horse edible. But horses can't push deer. That's my problem. So if I give a normal unit, you could use that unit to push deer. And then the deer might be worth doing something with. I might be able to make it so that the horse can push deer if it's like upgraded from a normal type of unit. Something to think about. We have geese in the center too. There's a deer here in the center. So let's decrease this temp min distance group placement to 2 here. And actually, what is this? Where is this even being placed? It looks like it's just being placed everywhere. That's not good. We want it to just be placed on DLC Mangrove Shallow. Might be no wonder everything's not working right. Hmm. Okay. There's no forest distance. Let's just do flag A. And see where it is, and then see why everything else is not avoiding it. Yeah, so these berries, just disrespectfully not avoiding it at all. So am I targeting the wrong thing? Because they should 100% be avoiding these flags. So this is object number 14. And the forage bushes should be avoiding that by 8, but they're clearly not. Do I need to renumber this somehow? Let's just try renumbering just for a sanity check. It looks like there was a numbering error. These numbers are different now. All right. Says it's done. Okay, that looks much better. So I don't know, whatever it was, there was a numbering error in there somewhere, and so things were not avoiding properly. But now they are. Well, this fish avoidance is not... See, it's got 6 there, 5 there, so we may have to revisit that too. How many things were impacted by this avoidance bug? Let's keep this seed. The shorefish seem to have been impacted. The deep fish do not appear to have been impacted. We can actually probably reduce this avoidance to this flag too. I liked having berries showing up on the gravel and such. So we'll decrease that avoidance to like 4. Or whatever 1 plus their spacing is. So these flag A's are spaced by 2 actually, so we can decrease all of that. Well, we'll leave the relic at 6 because relics are special, but we'll decrease that to 3. No, just 16 and 3, please. Okay. And what else do we have to do here? Obviously make this invisible again. Oh, the fish, right. So I bet that these shorefish have such a massive avoidance. We increase that to 3. Let's decrease that back down to 2. It's probably impacted by the numbering mismatch. But I'm glad that it seems to have been the only thing that was impacted secretly. All right. Yeah, there we go. It's a little better. The resource is showing up. I like it. These relics there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Where's the 5th relic? Let's tweak the relics a bit for fairness. I think we can revert these flags back to an invisible placeholder. Where's the relic? Relic. Ah, right here. Relic. All right, let's bump up this player avoidance for the relic. And we could go back to 32, but let's do like 28. And then let's space them by 22. Give that a try. I mean, it's got kind of a standard land nomad configuration here in terms of forests. I don't think it's too bad. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's better. It's good. It's fine for now. This relic is a little bit unfair, but this relic and this relic are closer to red than to blue. So I think it'll be okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 shorefish in that case. Now, you can wall to your own isolated lake, but you cannot wall to the center. Yep, so you could wall that off if you wanted. Same to here, technically. But you've got all kinds of little holes. You cannot wall off the fish. All right, what else? Is it time for eye candy? I almost think it is. All right, I'll be right back. Step away real quick, and then we'll do the eye candy. Okay, I'm back. Thanks for hanging in there. Oh, we gotta have the hawk. Yeah, this is fine. And we'll force the placement of the hawk. I don't know that I want to clutter this up any more than it already is. And it's already going to be quite valuable, so I don't think I'm going to put any food, or not food, but gold or stone in here. We'll just leave this as is for now. Could always add more later if we wanted. Okay, so we've got rocks that we could add as eye candy. Don't know how much rock we ultimately want. This strikes me as kind of a peaceful meadow. We also didn't do anything with elevation, actually, which I think we should. But we need to be careful with elevation because we want players to be able to put their town centers down wherever they want. So let's come back up here. We never ended up using these. Create elevation 2. Number of clumps, like 30 maybe. Number of tiles, 100. Number of tiles, 100. Number of clumps, 30 again. It's just a matter of experimenting. See what looks good. Like, this is not very much elevation 2 here. We could probably increase the number of clumps for that and the number of tiles. So let's go like 330. Yeah, that's okay. So there's some clumps. And now we can maybe do this again for elevation 3. But we don't want to go too crazy. Elevation 3, 3, maybe like 110. Yep. I think that's good. Not too many, otherwise people will complain that they can't build their town center. Let's take a look at giant size here with 8 players and see how that impacts it. Giant size 8 players, it's like even less elevation. We'll let it be for now. Oh gosh. I think it does need more. So maybe we'll do like 20 and 200. 40 and 400. And then we'll do one more of elevation 4. That is 110. Got some stuff. A little bit better. Could, of course, do some kind of checkering thing, but I don't want to do that. It's like no elevation up here. At least the fish still spawn properly. Let's go back down to tiny with 2 players and see if we screwed this up too much. No, we didn't, but I don't think I'm going to. I don't think I can add anything more. There's a big elevation bias toward this right-hand side of the map still, unfortunately. We've set balanced elevation too. So we just have to leave it how it is, even though it's wrong. All right. So what's next? The eye candy. Yes, of course. The most important part. So the question was, are we going to have rocks? I think the answer is no. Because it's a nomad map, and I don't want to make it, unless I can localize those rocks someplace. I don't want to make it on a specific type of terrain. I don't want to make it so that players will have a harder time building a town center. So the only place that I would put these rocks is in a location where I know players won't be building their town centers. So if I had a way of, for instance, putting these rocks, if I decided that rocks just on these shallows or the beach would look good, I would put them there. But I don't think I want to do that. I could maybe put sea rocks though, scattered along the edges here. Yeah, I'll do that. But I don't have sea rocks already, so I'm just going to do sea rocks 1 and sea rocks 2. Let me look up the constants for these. Okay, they're predefined, so that's good. Okay, and we gotta have the butterflies. So the terrain to place on is going to be GB for Gravel Beach. I could also do DLC Gravel Beach. Doesn't matter. It's not going to impact space very much. Okay. That looks fine. And we'll also copy this, paste it here, click and drag this down. And we're going to have non-navigable gravel beach affect these as well. $26. So whatever's in 22 it will avoid. And we should have all these try to avoid each other. So 26 through 27. And 28. Okay. So let's see how we did with these rocks. Just a starting, just a first pass at it. Yeah. Not bad. I don't think that we want to put them on non-navigable beach, though. I don't think that the second two are necessary. They might actually almost be better in shallow. That might be where we should put them. So let's, for here, no. And we'll say DLC new shallow. DLC new shallow. We'll save. If they have a forest distance of 2, which could be a problem, but we'll see. We could make them avoid the fish, the deep fish, but I don't really know what point there is in doing that, except to just give the illusion of more depth, but you've already got trees in the middle, so I guess it doesn't matter. I do like this better, though. The forest avoidance is a little rough. So we can get rid of it. I'll test it one more time. Yep. Good. So the fish are in the same spot every time, which is unfortunate. Thinking maybe it would be good if we could rotate the fish by 30 degrees to offset those 60-degree angles, so you don't know for sure. I mean, it doesn't really matter, all things considered. Like, somebody could put their dock 5 tiles left or right. It's not, and basically make up for that difference. So I'm not going to worry about it for now. But it is something that I considered. Is it possible to to push the fish out toward the edge of the map a little bit more too. Is another thing to think about. Because right now the fish are kind of all maybe sort of in the same place. What would happen if we did -11 and -10 here? And we ran that. So it would recompute all of the lands, and that would result in the fish being pushed out from the center a little bit more. I think it was kind of messy. Yeah, if you tried to go out any more, it would be messy. So that's really the sweet spot right there. -10 to -9. Not unless we wanted to push the circle out further, but then that would defeat the point. The fish are back to normal. So units, the dock should still be unbuildable. But if you can chop through here, you can actually build a dock closer to the fish. If you chop yourself space between the reeds and the trees and the mangroves. Be interested to see how people play this. I really would. This is fun. Okay, grass patch, flower bed, weeds, bush green, shrub green, plant, weeds. Okay, so yeah, so everything that's on grass, we can insert rows above here. And we'll get some butterflies too. But we can't have excessive numbers of butterflies. Otherwise our script will crash. So here's the eye candy. Copy this down. Again, we should not have any numbering errors. We don't want these grass patches to avoid anything. Just say grass. And get rid of these spacings and just remember that they were at 2. Oops. We don't need a 10. We don't need a 10. We don't need a 10. Still don't need it. And out of there. All right. Let's try it. All right. A nice, pretty meadow. We should disperse some DLC savanna grass on Gravel Beach. And some dead plants on this Gravel Beach as well. We're really close to having a completed map, I think. So let's see what else we've got saved in here. Okay, we've got DLC Savanna Patch. Now we're not invoking the fern patches at all. Maybe we should. So I think this is leaves terrain. Yeah, all of our grasses and stuff are avoiding the leaves terrain, it looks like. But no matter. We'll put ferns there. We'll put ferns and other grass. And we're going to have this be placed on leaves. Leaves. And we'll have a little bit larger of an avoidance for these. Oh no, we don't want Savanna Patch though, we want Fern Patch. Oops. Eight could be fine. No avoidances for them, but we will copy this and paste it down here for the grass patch. And we'll have the grass patch avoid whatever's in 36 by 4. Clear this out. Clear this out. And this is where we want Savanna Patch. And we want Plant Dead too. Here we go, Plant Dead is 1365. And these two are going to be for beach terrain and non-navigable. Actually, probably more so for the non-navigable beach. Copy that. Non-navigable gravel beach. And this doesn't need an avoidance, but this needs an avoidance, and we will tell it to avoid 38. Okay. So we have the savanna patches. I don't see any. Oh, there they are. The dead plants. Yeah, all right. You can tell the dead plants to have a little bit more tightly packed arrangement. And finally, we can put these savanna patches on the mangrove forest. DLC mangrove forest. Spacing of 4. Oh yeah. That's good. Sort of obscures the fact that we can't mask the terrain properly. Fits in with the reeds and grasses. Two, three, 4, 5. We should have a little bit more avoidance, honestly, to the player bases for these relics. Bump it back up to 32. That's what we gotta do. Oh, yes, the butterflies. So let's get rid of the rest of this, I think. These plant deads are going to be neutral Gaia convertible. That's fine. And is there anything that we want the butterflies to avoid? No, I think just the player start area. So A5. By 16? Yeah, okay. That's all right. And then we'll have these butterflies avoid the other butterflies, just because we can't, you know, we can't let the butterflies overlap. That would be unacceptable. Update the numbering. All right. Do we have a finished product here? Let's run it. Take a look. Looks like we need to restart our device to get some updates. Okay. 7, 8, 9. Some fern patches. The fish mean the hills. What do you guys think? Am I missing anything? Is there something that I've forgotten to include? I think we've got a finished product here. Now I'm going to go in and probably program a couple rule changes in. I'm going to give the dead trees more wood. But, like, what else? We got a random deer here. Considered the possibility of making this horse able to push deer somehow. That could be helpful. There's also the possibility of having like some flares. Give players a little bit of rudimentary knowledge about the area. But I think this is it, guys. I think we're there. We'll program in a couple of effect amount things, but for the purposes of what you can see in the scenario editor, we might be done. I'll have to go in and reformat some of the lines of terrain generation. Make it easier for me to read. Let's take a look at 8 players. 8 players on a large map size. Okay, let's generate it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 for that player. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 for that player. Okay, so the fish appear to be reasonable. A bit denser of a... I might consider cutting the reeds back a little bit. But I'm already at land %1, so I'd have to do number of tiles and then scale it. But we'll see. We'll end it here. We will send this map script to Sizu and see what he says after we've made some modifications. Actually, I think I'll just send him some screenshots. See what he thinks. But this has been quite the journey. And in the end, we just brute forced it with our Tech Chariot maps, or our Tech Chariot methods, to get something perfect for these fish, which is very important to me. Hopefully you guys are satisfied, as satisfied with the finished product as I am. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Can't wait to play it. That's the next step, and I am super excited. I hope that you will be there to join me when we test this out. because it's pretty, looks challenging. There's not a lot of food available, so the players are going to have to go for the fish. They can either go for the safe fish, which collects slower, or the risky fish, which collects faster. The deep fish out here. I might have to make fishing ships a little bit faster so that it's easier to traverse this distance. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And we're coming up on the 4-hour mark, so I'm going to close the stream here. Got 8 minutes to go, but we got it. So I will see you soon, and hopefully we'll have the chance to test this map at that time.